builder. I can't even put up a shelf. But I will ring the guy who can put up a shelf, but I wouldn't want to do that job, because what happens, I do know one builder, he's called Bob. I won't say his last name, never say anyone's last names, but he's called Bob. He's been a builder for, I couldn't even tell you, 40 plus years. He's still working to this day, and he's in his late 60s because he has to build, like he has to do the work. He hasn't set aside enough money, you know, he's still physically doing the work. I do know another builder, but I won't mention his name, who I actually had a conversation with the other day, and he said he would love to move out the country, out the UK, but can't because he has to stay where the work is in a busy city centre. I even have a friend called Danny, he won't watch this, but he's in removals. He is still doing removals, and he openly says, my back is killing me. I actually have another friend, I won't say his name, he's in removals and he's been doing it 18 years. He has a broken back, and it's hard to get off that wheel because it's physical labour. And I know some people have to do that, but builders will be replaced, plumbers will be replaced, doctors are already being replaced. You know, there are doctors doing surgery in other countries, performing it in another country by robotics and software. You know, it blows my mind that some people actually counter me and say, they'll never replace doctors. Okay, all right, whatever. Next one, loyalty never pays in the workplace. Again, you learn this from history. I have learnt this, my parents have learnt this, other people that are older than me that I am around, they have also learnt this. You learn from the lessons, harsh lessons, you know, life. You learn that there is no loyalty. It is a one-way street. And that also results in people going, I'm fed up, I've had enough, I'm not going above and beyond. There's always reasons, there's always sequences to why people end up with the decision that they do.
Bad day.
Oh, charges. Yes. Launching probe. Probe away. Probe away. Probe away. Probe away. Probe away. Probe launched. Launching probe. Launching probe. Probe away. In research projects, Element Zero is used for bioamp and omni-tool upgrades, which allow squad members who have biotic and tech powers to be much more effective. Probe away. Probe away. Probe launched. Launching probe. Launching probe. Launching probe. Probe away.
Shepard, how can I help?
Have you got a minute to talk?
Later, better. Think anything else?
I'll let you work.
We'll be here if you need me.
Parents are opening up more about how they wish they hadn't put work before family. This one is a common one that I'm seeing all the time in my comment section about dads, specifically dads being typically the breadwinners, is that they always chose the business meeting. They always did the overtime. They did the shift swaps. They were on call. They picked up their phone on holiday. They always took their work laptop, and they didn't acknowledge their children, and that eats them up later in life. So we're learning from history. So that's circle number one. That's the first part of this. The second part is information. I'm one of those informers. Employees now have options to fight back, and they know their rights because people are openly saying how they overcome problems. There's platforms like one I'm partnered with called Grapple Law. That's not a sponsored shout out, but Grapple Law are fantastic, and I've worked with them previously in the past. They're an AI platform that provide you support and guidance from A to B all the way to the finish to fight against your employer. There are other companies out there. There are a lot of no win, no fee. The information is out there. If you decide to sit back and say, I'm not happy or okay that I have been discriminated, harassed, singled out, bullied or micromanaged or some form of passive aggressive behavior towards you, you now have options because you have the information available. Now, employees are not willing to be disrespected by managers. I was one of those employees. I didn't care what job title you had, how much you earn. I didn't care for any of it. You show me respect. We are equal human beings, and people are realizing that it is not okay to be spoken down to. I will just quickly share a very brief story that I was in a regional meeting in my last job. There was about 5 of us in there who were involved in the meeting, and then there were people scattered in the office. There's a guy called Chris and a guy called Simon. Now, Simon was being I suppose the information that was being passed was more directed to Simon and Chris, but at this point it was directed to a guy called Simon. The manager on the other end, who was a regional manager, started to shout to the point where it was so embarrassing for Simon. Chris didn't say a word. I was looking at Simon like, you need to stand up. And Simon actually was brought to tears. Now, that meeting was ended. Chris stepped in and the meeting was ended. So obviously, there's going to be a follow-up now of what just happened. But actual shouting was directed at this guy called Simon. And he was brought to tears, and he went outside with Chris. And I remember catching up with Chris after, and I just said, this is not okay. Like, who's going to say what? And no one wanted to say a word to this regional manager because of the power that he had. And, and it just amazed me that people are willing to accept that. And that was considered the norm. Now, had that happened to me, which it never in a million years, because I'd have ended that call and then I would have began proceedings of a grievance and whatnot. But Simon just kind of shut up and put up. And that, the whole rigmarole of being bullied basically continued until the regional manager actually did end up getting sacked. Online resources. There's so much information out there now on how to deal with any workplace issue. People just aren't willing to accept the BS anymore, knowing that there is avenues of support. So that's information. The next one is corruption. I feel this one. People are fed up. I don't, put the workplace aside just for a moment. I don't know about you, but I'm going to do this on another video about get comfortable being bored and living life like a hermit with not many people around you. I don't know the title of my next video, but I'm going to be doing a video to why I don't really see anyone. I do these videos, I talk to you, but I'm just sat here at the moment at home looking at a camera. I try to interact with basically no human beings. Apart from my family and a couple of very close friends of mine, and that's it. And even then, I only see them a certain amount of weeks apart. And there's a reason why I don't interact with too many humans. I'm very much an extrovert, but I'm very much an introvert, and I suppose also that new term of outrovert, right? Look that one up. I am fed up of the governments. I am fed up of all the negative news. I don't like to be around people who constantly bring the negativity from the outside world into my world, into my bubble, and corruption falls into this, which is why people are fed up, because governments do not operate in the best interest of the people. COL stands for cost of living. Of course, costs are going up and wages aren't matching that. But I always say to people, caveat is that be proactive, go on the offense, learn to earn more money. And then people in power, MPs and elites, especially during Cucumber 19, I'll say, there's a lot of people siphoning off money. There's a lot of tax and fraud and that was avoided, and companies that were opened, SPVs, millions of pounds being lent to new companies that just started and then closed. There were a few MPs that had friends there was one case, I won't say the name because I don't want it to affect any algorithm, but there was an MP who managed to start a company with another business owner, basically got a 40 million loan or whatever it was, and then that company dissolved like a year later. Well, where's the 40 million quid gone? But yet they're chasing people for tax who are hard workers, who are contributing to the economy. I mean, it's just mad, and people are fed up of that. Like, there's a real movement at the moment, especially in the UK here. There's a lot of things going wrong with the UK, and it's becoming very dangerous, and people are fed up. But this also reflects in the workplace. And then finally, the mainstream media lies through their teeth. I am so glad. I've got to say this. Where is Mr. Carey? There we go. I won't say his name again. I don't want to affect the algorithm, but where is Mr. Carey? Why has his family not come forward? Why has there not been a statement? Like, so much is corrupt in the world. Like, all the files coming out, all these people that everyone's put on a pedestal for years, the royals, celebrities, everyone that people have idolized for years. All this information's coming out about them now. Some of them are just psychotic human beings, and we are fed up of idolizing people, looking at the papers and, oh, that celebrity and this famous person. We're all human beings, and that also collectively contributes to why people are fed up and they're not willing to give their souls and their bodies to a billionaire, probably in most cases, or a multi-millionaire or a deca-millionaire, when they don't get enough in return. Right, the next slide. So the lies have been exposed. So there's 6 things here that I've broken it down to, which we're all aware of. I do many videos on it. The schooling system, it's all a part of the plan. The reason the schooling system is not broken, it's